Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's me, OC Steve, and just wanted to share some of my thoughts and kind of review the Batman as it hit HBO Max as of yesterday. My wife sat down with me to watch it and just kind of sharing our mutual thoughts and opinions. So sit back, relax. This is going to be a real quick review, unlike the Batman that was almost 3 hours long. In my mind, the running time could have been cut significantly. A lot of the film itself had really long, drawn out takes to the point where it felt almost like paint dried in some of it and really kind of reduced the momentum leading into the third act. The first two acts were pretty good. It set the development up of Robert Pattinson being more of a detective than a ninja, unlike the Nolan films back in the day, where he was surrounded by a cast of scientists and other experts that were helping him in his battle waging crime in Gotham City. He had a little bit of tech, not too much. The bat suit itself was a little bit weird. You could tell that it was almost like somebody was wearing dad's clothes. He just didn't really fill it well, and they kind of over tried to compensate for the size of it and made it kind of almost faux RoboCopy with the amount of how much it was bulletproof. So that was kind of weird, and some of the gadgets just popping up out of nowhere, like his grappling hook, or in the beginning scene where he's fighting the guys in the subway, he has a taser built into one of the gauntlets. So it's just kind of weird, awkward stuff. They could probably rework the suit in the second one. Maybe they can get Pattinson into the gym for a little bit, because I know he was really hard against bulking up, unlike Christian Bale, who went from The Machinist, where he went to literally being a skeleton and being 90 pounds wet, to developing so much muscle in preparation for the Dark Knight saga that he did with Christopher Nolan. So let's get into it just a little bit here. I wanted to kind of go over that. I didn't really have a problem with him as Batman. I know a lot of people were leading that whole controversy train of, oh, he's coming from Twilight, but he has done a lot since then. So I was one of those people initially that gave him a hard time, but watching the movie, give him the benefit of a doubt. I thought he was an okay Batman. I thought he was an okay Bruce Wayne. It's still kind of year two is what they're setting this as, him being Batman. So he's still having a feeling out period dealing with both dual identities, and you get to see that in the film. But you can tell that he's kind of done his homework. He's done some forensic work, so he was a little more on the uptake. So it really did hit home and heighten that level of detectiveness for The Dark Knight, which I wish it would have been a little bit more physical. I wish he would have been more smart. I think we did 3 takes of him going into the Iceberg Lounge once as Batman, just doing the brazen approach. And if he was a guy that trained with ninjas or just had common sense, you wouldn't go kicking open the front door to go talk to the Penguin in that first round. So that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I would say another guy that I enjoyed in the film was Andy Serkis as Alfred. He's still trying to figure it out because he's trying to be a surrogate father figure. I think his approach is a little more subdued than Michael Caine's. Between the two, they're both good Alfreds, but I preferred Michael Caine better. The one guy that caught my eye the most, and I'm looking forward to his spin-off series on HBO Max, is Colin Farrell's Penguin. Uh, I had to literally show my wife the IMDb to prove to her that that was Colin Farrell. So he really developed being in that role, and the prosthesis that were used to transform him into the Penguin were really excellent. I don't understand why that makeup department didn't get any, at least a wink or a nod in the Oscar contention, but that's superhero films for the genre in itself. Another guy that I enjoyed too was Jeffrey Wright's portrayal of actually being Gordon. I think next to the Dark Knight saga, this was a great rendition where he's just a beat cop, but he has morals, and if he stands for something rather standing for nothing in a total corrupt Gotham City Police Department and judicial system. And he's kind of looked at as a little bit weird for siding with this new vigilante that's manifested in the form of the Batman. So I think he did a really good job too. I think Gary Oldman had a lot more time, and you got to see him develop as Gordon through those films during the different eras. So we're just catching this Gordon, at least in Matt Reeves' version, as kind of a beat cop that's transitioning almost into a detective, and will probably be forced with being a leadership just because of the void that's going to be filled with a lot of those people getting killed by the Riddler. The most developed character arc in the entire film, at least in my mind, was Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, or Selena Kyle. Her being Falcone's daughter and wanting to seek revenge for the murder of her mother, and infiltrating his criminal organization was really good. I think that she had the most well-rounded character arc, at least in this first film, in comparison to many of the other characters, including the Batman himself. I'm looking forward to what they can develop with her. I think that she stood on her own ground where they could develop her being almost a Catwoman series. And I think that that would be a cool miniseries on HBO Max. Or if they just wanted to pursue it in film format, I think that it would be kind of neat to see her kind of in a faux Ocean's 11 grounded in this Matt Reeves world. And then the other thing, you know, Pattinson, I hope that they develop more of his Bruce Wayne. I mean, he's emphasis on becoming Batman. He's not really even called Batman. He's called Vengeance. I mean, other people call him Batman. So he's learning to develop the title, and it has to be more of a symbol than a war against crime that Gotham needs somebody to rely on. He kind of looks as himself almost as a nocturnal predator initially. So I kind of dug that, but him developing and understanding that Batman is something more to the people of Gotham as almost kind of their own symbol of hope and strength in that way is something that will eventually develop. Obviously, this is going to be a series that's going to continue. So another thing that I wanted to comment on is if you like these films, obviously the first act was great. It set up the Riddler. The second act, they apprehended the Riddler, but the third act kind of fell apart because the Riddler was already caught. Gotham City gets flooded because of all the dams and partways or spillways get filled. And then he has to kind of fight Riddler's QAnon minions. That was really kind of the undertone, like, you know, on point, that they were making fun of QAnon and the Riddler being a question mark. It wasn't really lost on me there. But some other movies that I would recommend as I'm closing this up would be Seven. That is another movie that deeply kind of, if you like the kind of psychological drama and you really want to see it playing out a little bit more with what you had with Riddler, I would recommend that. It's a great film, but with Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman, and it's a very suspenseful thriller, unlike certain parts of the Batman in itself. And then another movie that I would recommend that came out shy of maybe a decade and change ago was Zodiac, based on the Zodiac killings of the late 1960s and 70s in San Francisco, another suspenseful movie with Mark Ruffalo, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Robert Downey Jr., and a Batman recommendation that I would make, that if you're looking to see a good animated portrayal with a good amount of the rogues gallery with some suspense and some detective work that was kind of missing in certain parts of the Batman, at least in my mind, is the Batman Long Halloween Parts 1 and 2. Those are available to watch as well on HBO Max right now. It has some really great voice work. It's the most true to the graphic novel done by Tim Sale and Jeff Loeb. So I would check that out if you want to get your Batman fix on. You want to see some really good animation and some good voice actor portrayals. But that's it for right now. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you thought the running time was good, it could have been trimmed a little bit, and what you look forward to in the next version of Matt Reeves' Batman universe. Thanks for watching. Like, click, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.